Hi, everybody. It's Sarah, the host of Unmuzzled. Sorry about this orb over here. This just means the sun is going to be out later, which means I'll have to battle it a little bit. But welcome to Unmuzzled. By the way, they changed that. If you're watching the video, they changed that music for the countdown. It totally caught me off guard, but it's nice. It's a little bit more soothing. It's not so uppity. Presenting sponsors, you're up. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsors. Yucca Fence is a family-owned, trusted provider of high-quality fencing solutions with over 57 years of experience. They take pride in protecting what you love most and give back to rescues, shelters, and humane societies through their partnerships. They offer you a free, no-obligation estimate and use the highest quality materials. For transparency and peace of mind, visit Yucca Fence for all your fencing needs. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space and a huge yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Sniffing out a new vet? Bond Vet is a new breed of vet care that offers everything from primary care to walk-in urgent care visits. And right now, they've got a special treat for our listeners. You can use code UNMUZZLED to get $50 off your pet's first visit by booking at bondvet.com. That's code UNMUZZLED at BONDVET.com for $50 off. Thank you, new sponsors. Thank you, old sponsors. Please, if you're listening or watching, support our sponsors. They're all local small businesses. If you're not local, then please support your local small businesses. I can't express that enough, especially in these times. Megan is here from Chicago Rescue Authority, and I know her from actually many other things, many different things that we've partnered on, including her incredible business that she owns on the side. I know, Megan, that sometimes is taking a back seat lately. We'll talk about that a little bit. But hello and welcome to the podcast, finally.
Hello, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so just a little history. So Megan used to work at or volunteer, I should say, at another rescue. And she came to me one day and said, Sarah, would you say I should not start my own rescue? Will I have regrets? And I believe I was honest. And I said, you probably will, but you now have had so much experience in the rescue world and vet world and other world that, you went for it. And now you just celebrated 1 year. So let's hear how it's going.
It's going well. It is every bit as exhausting and tiring as I anticipated, but it's also every bit as rewarding as I had hoped as well. A lot of tears, a lot of happy tears, a lot of sad tears, but, we are pushing through because it is, at the end of the day, about saving as many animals, as many dogs as we can. And we are learning a lot and pivoting a lot and kind of just trying to apply ourselves where we find the majority of the need. So yeah, we're having a good time.
And that's kind of the key, is just getting through these. There's so many tough moments in animal rescue. And a lot of times I'm sure you want to throw in the towel, and, being able to get through it and say, okay, this is, all good. But anyway, Megan also has an affinity for puppies and pregnant moms. So these were some of the puppies that connected to us that had parvo. And I'm going to show this. I'm going to try not to cry. But this dog actually became famous because he was picking bears opponents every week, and unfortunately passed away recently. Got loose and got lost and was found not alive, unfortunately. So, but what Megan does is amazing, because these puppies were so effing sick. I can't even tell you how sick they were. I ended up staying at her house for a bit just because I loved them so much. And they made it. I mean, they all made it out alive. It kind of speaks volumes for the basically the work that you do to make sure that these animals live, which is not easy. And really, I think before anything, I want to go over kind of your past, because what made you fall in love with, really pregnant mama dogs, puppies who are, I mean, my even like 3 or 4 days there, I was like, how do you do this every day? Constant cleaning. When they have parvo, you have to be really, really careful. You can't bring that home to your dogs. It spreads so quickly. But where did this like passion for puppies and mama dogs come from?
So when my heart dog, my heart and soul dog, I got him kind of by accident. He's the first dog I'd had from puppyhood. I was 17 or 18 at the time. I lived in Michigan, and I was volunteering at a local animal shelter. I was the youngest person on the board of the shelter at the time, and I had a cousin who wanted a bonded pair. Or wanted a Maltese, and there was a bonded pair that came into the shelter. It was a Maltese and a poodle. And I said, hey, listen, these are going to go up for adoption, but the thing is, like, they're bonded. You have to take both of them. And she was like, okay, let's do it. So my cousin adopted these two dogs. And then as it turns out, one of them was pregnant, and she didn't know it until kind of close towards the end there. And she's like, you got me into this mess. You have to help me. So I was like, all right, well, I guess we're going to have a crash course in how to help a dog give birth. So these puppies were born in a bathtub because we didn't have a ton of resources otherwise at that time, and I had never really fostered. So I helped her with that, and then met my puppy. He was one of the litter, and I ended up keeping him. And he lived for 19 amazing years. He was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, and the reason why I'm so passionate about dogs in general. But I think if I had to like pinpoint why mama dogs and puppies so specifically, I would say it was that when I was 17 years old. So it's been cooking for a long time.
Yeah, I love it. And we should know, like, right now in your house, you have a dog that's ready to give birth. So, yeah.
Literally, I'm watching her on my camera right now, scratching around in the whelping pad. It literally could happen right now. So,
I mean, as I said, it would either be our highest rated or lowest rated podcast video wise. I mean, I don't know what we would be hearing, but
either way, we're going for a record today.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Because I mean, here's the biggest thing. And I think this goes back to even my animal control days, doing those transports of like puppies that maybe had lost their mom, or mom that was pregnant, like the emergency of it. And it really is an emergency, to get them out is it's a thing. Like, and you feel like the pressure to get it right and make sure everybody survives. And it's not easy, and not every rescue can do it. So for you, a year in, what has been the most rewarding part of all this?
With moms and puppies specifically, I will say the most rewarding part for me is being able to raise puppies that end up being good advocates for rescue, because there are so many people who have the impression that rescue dogs are broken in some way or come with baggage, and they'd be better off getting a dog from a breeder. And when I have a litter of puppies, I put my heart and soul into it to make sure that when these dogs are getting adopted, and people down the line are like, oh my God, your dog is so well behaved, where did you get it? They can say proudly that this dog came from a rescue. Because, advocating for dogs and advocating for rescue is so much more than just like telling people why you should rescue dogs, but it's about like giving examples and making meaningful change with the animals that are in the community. So that's probably one of the most meaningful parts of what I do as a puppy foster specifically. But rescue in general, I think helping people find animals that, in a lot of cases, especially now that we're pulling dogs from CACC, those animals probably would have died. And when we get to watch these animals that were red tagged or didn't stand a chance at life go home and make a family complete, that is something that like is so rewarding. I can't even honestly put it into words, because that dog's life could have been very different, and those people's lives could have been very different, and they didn't even know it.
That's so true. And I think the advocacy part is one of the most important. So this dog, I know we were just talking about, this was like a kind of a last minute save where a dog had a puppy, just one single puppy at animal control.
Yeah. Yeah. So they know me at animal control, at Chicago Animal Care and Control. They know me as being the person who likes the puppies. I have a reputation, which sometimes is problematic, but we roll with it. So this dog, nobody knew that she was pregnant. She only had the one puppy. So she was in, as you would say, general population of dogs, like on the adoption floor. And the staff came in the morning to start doing their rounds and found that she had a puppy overnight, which is not something that generally ever happens, because you can usually tell when a mama dog is pregnant. So they called us up, and I couldn't personally take her because I have, like we mentioned, I have a pregnant dog already in my whelping area, and dogs from CACC tend to come with some sickness from just the community element and being housed so closely together. So I try to keep my mama dogs as safe as possible. So I was working on finding a foster, and my co-founder, who actually lives in my basement apartment, she's not usually a puppy person. She's not usually the one that's going to do the puppies. She's a big dog, long-term dog type of foster, but she was like, I guess I could do it. Let's do it. So now she is absolutely head over heels in love with this dog and this puppy. So I might have converted her to puppy fostering, but she is. I just went down and fed her a little bit ago and cleaned up. But mom and puppy are doing absolutely amazing. So they're doing great, and it's the last time she ever has to have babies.
Yeah, and I mean, how cool that your co-founder lives in your basement and you can be like, hey, can you just come check on the dogs? That's amazing. I mean, honestly, that's like best case scenario, just, for communication wise too. It's awesome. So this might be a touchy topic for some people, but I just wanted to get your opinion on spay abort, which again, we talked a little bit about, before we started recording, but this is a real hot button topic. Obviously, it's a hot button topic when we're talking about humans, but then when you talk about overpopulation of pitties and really just bringing dogs into the world now when there's so many homeless dogs, there are so many ways we could go with this, but just take us into, kind of your mindset, because you're not always like, oh, let's just have all the puppies. Like if it's early enough and and like you have a dog with a broken pelvis right now, like what is going to be the best case scenario for the health of the dog? So can you kind of just go over like your philosophies with that?
Yeah, happy to. It is definitely a hot button topic for sure. I try to look at it very objectively. The facts are there are way too many dogs in our shelter system. There are way too many dogs in our country to be able to have every dog in a home. And the only way to really get a handle on that issue is to stop breeding and to spay and neuter community pets, try to eliminate unnecessary backyard irresponsible breeding as much as possible. And that starts and ends with rescue as a catalyst. So when we get a mama dog in, my priority is for two things: the community and for the dog, but the dog always comes first. So when I have a mama dog that we find out is pregnant, but she's like, has no idea she's pregnant, she's not showing any signs of maternal instinct, and the puppies are not far enough along that they would be considered viable, I am absolutely 100% for spay abort. We have a Shiba that was dumped by a breeder recently, and the breeder, when he dumped the dog, was like, yeah, she is most likely pregnant. Like he said it like he was doing me a favor. Like he's like, yeah, you're welcome. I'm giving you a pregnant Shiba. And I'm like, great. I'm going to schedule her for a spay as soon as possible. Because she doesn't know she's pregnant yet. She's not showing. She's very skinny, and it's not going to affect her mentality if I spay her and make it so she doesn't have to have another litter of puppies and we don't have more puppies that we need to find homes for. However, I've had situations before, like with this girl that's in my kitchen. When we got her, she very much was aware that she was pregnant. She is nesting. She is going through all of those mommy behaviors. And in the past, when I have had a dog like that has lost a litter or had something tragic happen where she's preparing to be a mom and then all of a sudden she's not a mom anymore, I've seen them go through a lot of mental health struggles and where are my puppies, why am I feeling this way, and I don't have anything to direct that maternal energy towards, and I don't want to cause them any stress if I don't need to. So in that case, we will support the mom through that pregnancy, through that whelping, and then first chance we get, she's spayed and she's never doing it again. So you mentioned the dog this is a different case from Chicago Animal Care and Control. A dog that has a broken pelvis. We were at the shelter yesterday. We were picking up one dog only. And on our way out, one of the staff members was like, "Hey, can I show you a dog real quick?" And I was like, "Oh no, I don't like where this is going." So they took us to one of the back rooms where they keep like the injured animals that shouldn't be handled by the public, and introduced us to this dog who came in with a broken pelvis, and they realized shortly after that she was very pregnant. And at this point with her injury, it is not possible for her to give birth naturally. It could cause her a lot of damage. It would be very risky for her, very risky for the puppies. But the idea obviously was, okay, would you take this dog, get her spay aborted, and then do something to help with her pelvis? But as we talked and we went over the medical records and everything like that, we realized she is actually probably about a week away from delivering. And therefore, spay abort would not be appropriate. So she would need to have these puppies delivered by C-section. And her pelvic fracture, her pelvic injury is already mostly healed, incorrectly healed because no medical care was given in time. So she is going to need either much more care with that down the line, or if it's healed okay enough, she will just have some physical therapy and we'll see how she does. But so now they presented that to me and they said, she's red tagged for this evening. She's got like basically 2 hours to live. And I said, okay, let me see what we can do. So we played a little bit of foster Tetris, moved some fosters around, found a foster who was willing to host a pregnant mama dog. And we are working on getting her into the vet today or tomorrow at the latest, just to have a final assessment of what exactly is going on in there and what our options are. But she is definitely also nesting and preparing to be a mom. So C-section is probably going to be our most likely avenue for her at this point, unfortunately, just because we got her into our care so late.
Yeah, and it just again speaks volumes to you to care so much about the mom dog. And I think people are like, oh, it's just a dog, like it gives birth. Like, no, like it's a whole maternal thing they go through, and nobody knows that better than you. Where if you just yank things away like dumb breeders do, it really does affect that dog. And like you said, even not just now, but long term down the road. So really remarkable just that you think so much about it, and care. So kudos to you. I know that you also have a dog now that is a great example of awful breeding that you just pulled. So Squint, is it Squint? Yes, Squint.
It's Squint,
right?
Yeah.
Is he around there?
Yes, hold on. I'm having my assistant hand him to me.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Cue the assistant. Oh, boy. All right, tell us.
Squint is about 6 weeks old, so shouldn't even be away from his mom yet. But he was dumped by a breeder because he has something called microphthalmia, which is where both of his eyeballs are basically too small and they don't function, and his third eyelid is covering almost the entire eyeball anyways. This is generally a result of poor genetics and poor breeding. So this particular breeder we found was trying to breed for what they call a double dapple variety of dachshund, which is just like a fancy colored coat. Thank you, buddy. And oftentimes when you have people that are trying to breed for specific coats that are not natural or typical for the breed, it ends up resulting in other genetic deformities or malformities as well. So this little kiddo is completely blind. He is doing great otherwise, but this is the kind of example of why like breeding has a place in the world. But right now, if you're just looking for a family pet, there are so many different avenues to travel to make sure that you are getting a family pet and not doing harm to other animals, because the only reason he exists is because so many people were like, I want specifically a double dapple long-haired dachshund. And so these breeders were trying to meet the demand, and now he is going to be blind for the rest of his life. He doesn't know that he's blind. He doesn't know anything's different with him because he was born this way. But it's very unfair that this is the casualty. And not only him, but the moms and the conditions that the moms are kept in. We get so many moms from puppy mills that are just completely matted. Their hair's in dreadlocks. There's absolutely no way that they should be expected to give birth and take care of puppies in that condition. And yet every single day they are. And then these people will often just take these puppies away from them at 4 weeks, which is what happened to this guy, and send them off to puppy stores or adopters, and then turn around and breed the mom again at the very first opportunity. So I always say my rule of thumb with breeding is that if they are breeding for qualities of in dogs that are not standard colors, or like, the long hair French bulldogs, or bulldogs with a extra large rope. And if you don't know what that means, then don't look it up, because it's terrible. But if you have a breeder that's breeding for those qualities, they're not a reputable breeder, and you should run the other way. And if you absolutely have to, or feel that you have to get a dog from a breeder, just please ask to see the mom. Ask to meet the mom. Ask to see where the mom is kept and what conditions she is in. Don't ask it and give them time to prep for it. Ask it on the spot when you go to pick up your puppy. Ask to see the mom. That's my biggest request for everybody who's choosing to get a dog from a breeder instead of going with rescue.
Yeah, and I mean, this kind of circles back to the beginning. Rescues who do things the right way then have captured people, hopefully for the rest of their life to rescue. When you have a bad experience with a rescue, the first thing we see is somebody saying, oh, I'll just go to a breeder. It's a lot easier. I hand over my money. I get what I want. Whereas rescues really have to be careful with screening, following up on medical, making sure that their dogs and the people that adopt them know that they're family for life. And if anything ever does happen, that the dog, cat, whatever, comes back to them, which I think is so, so important. I know this has been a big argument, and it's been an argument since I was volunteering at Animal Control about, Chicago dogs coming out of state, taking dogs from a breeder that is because, I remember your one Basset hound, something was like the tooth or something was weird, and that's how you got it. It's crazy. But I think most people know my thoughts on this. However you save a dog, cat. We're just talking about dogs now. But, I hate this argument. And Abby Smith from Felines and Canines, if you haven't listened to that podcast, please go back and listen to her analysis of, how when you get a mix of dogs in a place, you're going to be able to adopt more of the harder to adopt dogs. Because not everybody wants to look at cages filled with pitties. When they see a variety, then that pity sticks out. It's really an amazing analysis of how this works. But just what are your thoughts? And I'd love for you to talk about your relationship with breeders who rely on you sometimes to take these dogs too.
Yeah. So it's definitely, again, another hot button topic. There are a lot of people that are very community first, Chicago first, and I'm all for that. And I wish that it were cut and dry like that. But the reality is that the vast majority of dogs that we have in the shelter system here in Chicago are pitties. And there are a lot of people who there are a lot of people who are already very hesitant about rescuing a dog to begin with, because they think that rescue dogs are broken, come with baggage and all that jazz. And then you add the pity element on top of it. And there are a lot of people who are just really not comfortable or familiar enough with the breed, and they get fed all of these negative things from the media about how pitties are and how pitties behave, and it makes them not want to adopt a dog. So when we are bringing dogs in, when other rescues are bringing dogs in from out of state, I do not bring in, as a rule of thumb, pitties. And it feels crappy to do, but I'm not going to take away from the potential for a pitty here in Chicago to get adopted. What I am aiming to do when I'm bringing dogs in from elsewhere is not only to help those communities out, because they have an overabundance of these dogs as well, but also to serve as a stepping stone for people to get into rescue. If somebody is not going to adopt a pitty, they're not going to adopt a pitty. And that's all there is to it. If somebody is not likely to adopt a rescue dog, they may be able to be swayed if they find the right rescue dog. So if I can give somebody who's been a lifelong breeder-only person a cute little mixed breed mutt, or a dog that came from a puppy mill and has a sad backstory, and needs to have some time to learn how to trust people again. If I can give somebody who's a little hesitant on rescue one of those dogs that's a breed that they're interested in, and teach them about rescue and teach them that not rescue dogs aren't all bad dogs. maybe the next dog they get is going to come from a shelter, but I can't control that without getting my foot in the door to be able to educate them about rescue dogs in general. So the biggest thing that we can do to help the dogs in the shelter, aside from taking them when we can, we've been able to pull dogs from CACC for I think 3 weeks now, and we've already taken 13 or 14. So aside from pulling them when we're able to, when we have foster homes for them or adopters for them, is to educate people on the importance of spaying and neutering and create programs where spaying and neutering in our community are more accessible for people. Where the dogs are coming from, to me, is less of a issue as long as these dogs are getting saved, getting homes, and people are being given good opportunities to have good experiences with rescues to take forward and educate their peers and hopefully continue to rescue dogs in the future. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, advocacy and education is such a huge part of your mission, which I appreciate. I think it's one thing to, take dogs, adopt them out, but then to make sure the message is spread about why you're doing this and, why you took this dog from here, and being really transparent about it is really helpful and really good for future sustainability, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But for you, what is your biggest need? So I always say, money is always a huge need. Obviously, when you have puppies, you need supplies. So what, and fosters is always number one for foster rescue. But what are your biggest needs right now?
So we're still new to the game. We're a younger rescue. Serenity, my co-founder, and I have been doing animal rescue separately and together for 10, 15 years. But this is, our rescue in general is still pretty new. So supporters, publicity, people just knowing who we are is something that we are definitely trying to work on right now. Our follower count is still pretty low. I am not as good at social media as some people, so I'm doing my best. So that's kind of like our first step to really ramping things up, because I can do as many fundraisers as possible, but if the fundraisers aren't reaching people, then what good is it going to do me? So just people sharing our story, sharing what we're doing, getting involved however they can. Obviously donations are paramount, obviously, to everything that we do. We cannot rely simply just on our donors. We cannot how am I trying to say this? We cannot depend only on donors. We also depend largely on our adoption fees to help us cover the medical that we're doing for these dogs. So adopters, people to come and look at our dogs and give them a shot and adopt them so that we can make space to continue to take more and more dogs. And of course, foster homes as well. Always foster homes. When it comes to puppies specifically, we're being eaten out of house and home, so to speak, with puppy food at the moment. But pee pads also are a huge need. So we've got our Amazon wish list. We've got our Chewy wish list, because I'm also kind of trying to shift away from Amazon lately. And then we're doing our best to ramp up our community efforts, just being visible in the community and sharing what we're doing as often as we can.
Which is so important. I mean, having community support and being able to spread your message is so important. Speaking of support, I know Craig is your right hand man and left and everything. But that part of it is so important too. I know, you do a lot of events for your small business and he's always there. So any shout outs for Craig?
Yeah, Craig deserves all the shout outs, honestly. We call him our rescue husband, because we don't have to ask more than once, and he's on board with whatever. I texted him yesterday and I said, so you remember how I said we were just coming here to rescue one dog? And he immediately was like, what room do I need to set up and how many puppies are there? Like he knows me at this point. He doesn't make me feel bad about wanting to save these dogs. He's on board. He supports my dream. He supports my vision. Some days when I'm feeling like crap and he has to take out all the dogs and do everything by himself, he doesn't resent me or make me feel bad for it. So I've said it before and I will say it every day. I would not be able to run this rescue without his support and without Serenity's support. This is not a one-man show. And I would not have even started this if I didn't have his support. So all of the kudos to Craig.
Yeah, he's such a good dude. So, okay, 1 year in, I'm going to ask you, because I'm going to ask, what if somebody was on the fence about starting a rescue or not starting a rescue, what would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
My biggest piece of advice would be to have a community of support before you start, because you cannot do it alone. You will go crazy trying to do it alone. I couldn't do it without my husband. I couldn't do it without Serenity. I couldn't do it. There are so many of my friends who have stepped up to help and given advice or connected me with businesses that'll let me do fundraisers with them. It is, you cannot be an island in rescue. So if it is something that you are passionate about, I encourage you to do it wholeheartedly. I got a lot of advice not to do it when I was looking into it, but I think if this is something that you're passionate about, and even if it's something that's not sustainable for the rest of your life, if this is something that's going to make you feel like you've made a difference in the world the way you want to, 100% do it. Just make sure that you have the support that you need to make it sustainable.
Mic drop. I mean, yeah, I love it. I mean, I definitely said to you, yes, you'll regret it, but you're
Yeah.
perfect for it. I mean, you have had so much experience as a vet tech as well. And everybody that listens to this podcast knows how much I respect vet techs in general. Should be paid a lot more than they are. They're the glue to every vet. Yeah, so thank you. Since it was I love having you. So you gotta come back again. Maybe after 2 years, we'll see you
we'll
and
check
see
in
how
again.
you're doing. We'll do a mental health check, but you're doing amazing work. Everybody go follow all of their social media, because the dogs, like you saw that fat paw dog, like his paws were so fat. I'm like, I want to reach in there.
Mm-hmm.
Very unique and special dog. So thank you, Megan, so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for everything you do.
Yes. Megan, everybody from Chicago Rescue Authority. Go follow them. They have the coolest logo too. Here, let me show that again, because we were kind of talking over it. But and we didn't talk about the one dog, but go follow them. Wobble and Weeble. Is that what their names are, Megan?
Yeah.
Wobble and Weeble. And they have this really cool logo. So if you're from Chicago, this is like the train lines, and their logo is patterned after CTA. It's very unique. I love things like this. Supporting sponsors, you're up. Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much to our supporting sponsors. On the corner of Montrose and Troy in Chicago's Irving Park neighborhood, you'll find a hidden gem known as Templestowe Pub. They have a great selection of local draft beers, and the Malort is always flowing. Oh boy. Join us for charity bingo nights or tap takeovers with local breweries. Don't want to leave your dog at home? Bring them with you. Whether you're throwing darts or playing a banger on the jukebox, you're guaranteed to have an awesome time. Head on over to 3135 West Montrose and look for the old style sign. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or while recovering from an injury. There is no better gift than pain relief and extended mobility for your furry friends. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninepT.com. Intuitive animal behavior dog training, positive reinforcement, force-free and fear-free training solutions for every single dog. Jenna offers individual training, behavioral boarding, shelter support, and positive reinforcement board and train services. Creating an environment that is happy and healthy for your pets is so important. For more information, go to her website, intuitiveanimalbehavior.com. Thank you to all the sponsors. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Megan. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.